Hello, I'm John Beasley, and this is my framework. And we're going to be going over 3 case studies in order to make a framework for legal and ethical IT decision making. So, with Twitter and free speech, this is going to be the first case study because during the 2020 election, Twitter was labeling and deleting tweets that were potentially misleading because they wanted to, stand by their ethical decision of wanting to promote trustworthiness and honesty. But people were not happy about this because a lot of people were caught off guard by it, especially politicians who were having their tweets negatively affected. So it raised a lot of legal questions about what exactly, the free speech limit Twitter had on regulating it. So Section 230 of the 1996 Communications Decency Act protects platforms what people post. So if I make a mean tweet about you, you can't sue Twitter, but it's not all powerful. So if I, pirate something and then upload it, Twitter does have to intervene. So while their decision made sense from an ethical standpoint, people were still upset about it. So our lesson here is that we want clear and consistent enforcement of what speech is allowed. We want people to know in advance what our policies are and how we're going to enforce it. Google in China is the second case study because in 2018, Google was thinking about re-entering China after leaving in 2010, and it caused a massive backlash because of how China regulates the internet. They ban words, there's mass propaganda. If you try searching for something, it only goes to government-approved news websites. It's very heavily regulated in a way that's foreign to us in the US. And our lesson here is that we probably shouldn't comply with foreign regulations and markets that conflict with our ethical values, like the Association of Computing Machinery's stance on being trustworthy and not discriminating, or the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers stance on treating people fairly. Next, we have our third case study, IT privacy regulation with Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, because while Open Graph is a tool that lets people see connection between users, it had the problem of people weren't really made aware that their data was being taken and given out. So Cambridge Analytica used Open Graph data to try and target millions of people with political ads, and this had a massive backlash because there's about IT data usage. And while things like the European Union's GDPR, California CCPA, didn't exist when the scandal happened, they came shortly after. So our lesson here is that organizations should inform users about the organization's data collection. We want to be very open and transparent about what data we're taking and what we're using it for. So our legal checkpoints are going to be data protection, industry requirements, and third party. So our data protection, we want to make sure our data is secure, safe, and managed well, and we know where it is. We want to follow laws like the European Union's GDPR and California's CCPA, because they have laws about how data is handled. Industry-specific requirements like HIPAA with health information or the PCI DSS is a very common standard and is mandatory in many requirements for holding credit card information. And we want to make sure that our third party like vendors are also following these standards and legalities. For ethical decisions, we want to make sure our ethics reflect principles and values. We want to be transparent, as in people know what we're doing. We want to be very open with all of that, and making sure people like, hey, I consent to my data used, or I don't consent to my data being used, stuff like that. We also want to be legal in what we're doing, as with like the legal checkpoints. Stakeholder impact is when we're considering like, hey, we're not negatively impacting people that are involved with this. And we want to be fair. We don't want to exclude or target people unfairly. We want to make sure everyone's treated fairly and evenly. Speech regulation and privacy policies. Free speech is vital. So in our policies, we want to make sure that we're very open in the fact that we do endorse free speech, that certain things are allowed. We don't allow illegal content, and we won't allow misleading or harmful speech. We also want to make sure we're following regulations like the GDPR and CCPA, but also considering things like the NIST, ACM, and IEEE standards. Privacy should be respected and protected. So there's a lot of laws like GDPR and how data is handled in the European Union, as well as CCP and how data is handled in California, will influence our how we handle data, and we want to make sure that we respect people's privacies and we only take what they give permission. So for a hypothetical and how this would be used, imagine we're wanting to conduct a study on user data. Well, first we have to consider the legality of it. Are we following the law in how we're conducting the study? And next we want to, make sure we're following, specific laws like GDPR, HIPAA, HIPAA, and what we're doing if they're applicable. And we also want to make sure we are following our policies. Are we staying ethical with this? Are we being transparent? Are we respecting people's privacy? Have they consented to the study? And that's where it's going to lead into our process chart. So it starts with, an idea of what we're wanting to do, case study. Are we doing a new policy? Are we collecting people's data? What are we doing? We want to first make sure it follows the law, GDPR, CCPA, and where we're operating. Are there going to be specific laws that are to our industry of consider, like health industry with HIPAA or credit cards with PCI DSS? And once we've met all of our legal requirements, are we doing this ethically? Are we being transparent? Are we being fair? And once that, we go into our specific policies, like are we endorsing free speech that isn't misinformative? Are we, meeting all of regulations? Are we respecting people's privacy? And once that, we're good to go. Global and future implications. So a vital benefit of IT is that we can operate on a very international scale, but our concerns with that is that we want to make sure we're following people's laws. We want to follow GDPR in the European Union, CCPA in America with California, and elsewhere. So with that, it's very important that our framework is flexible enough and reliable enough in its foundations to operate in different places. With AI, it's rapidly changing the IT sphere. So with AI, with our framework, we want to make sure that our framework is compatible with AI and making sure that the AI follows our process. Is it being fair? Is it not giving misinformation? Is it being legal? We want to make sure that all of our inspections in the process chart can be applied to AI, which it should be able to. And by staying up to date with regulations, the framework can adapt quickly. By staying on the, maintaining active, research and regulations and trying to stay ahead of the curve on things, we can make sure that we are never really having conflicts. And by requesting permission to use or create data from user information, we avoid surveillance concerns with unfairly tracking people without their knowledge by getting permission from users. In summary, we're looking to uphold legality across various regions with things like the GDPR, European Union regulations, for example. We're going to be making ethical decisions because we don't want to negatively have a negative impact on the world around us. We want to endorse free speech, but avoid using it in harmful ways. And we want to follow regulations to ensure an up-to-date, reliable system. We're going to protect and respect the privacy of users, and we're going to prepare for IT role, and we're going to, for the future. And me personally, becoming an upcoming professional, this was going to help me prepare for IT roles by staying informed on expectations and standards going forward. In reflection, this class has been a major help to me. Before, while I knew laws and regulations that existed for IT, I didn't really dig deep into them. The Google case in specific was really eye-opening for me, because while I knew about Cambridge Analytica and Twitter, because I heard them mentioned as they were happening, the Google case was like, hey, I never really considered, the issues with ethics and morals while entering places like China. So that was very eye-opening, and I'm feeling a lot more confident going out of this class than I did going in, and I think it's a very good place to be, as this class was very informative and helping me a lot. Here are my references. Thank you for your time. I've been John Beasley. Have a wonderful day.